If you're using a prompter, and more specifically the Elgato Prompter, the last thing you want is for people to notice your reading. Well, I've been there. I've had a comment saying my eyes looked weird, and it was obvious I was reading off a screen. So I spent time tweaking my settings, and now I think I found the best settings to make my eye contact look as natural as possible. Let me show you what I changed so you don't get comments like these. But before we jump into the settings, let's quickly talk about why this happens. When your eyes shift too much while reading a teleprompter, it becomes distracting, and people can tell you're reading instead of speaking naturally. This usually comes down to a few things: the text size, scroll speed, distance from the camera, and even the lens you're using. So let's go into Camera Hub. Well, I'll show you exactly what settings I use. Naturally, the first thing we do is to turn on the prompter in this power switch. I like to have the brightness at 100 since I can't see properly otherwise. The font size is really important. You have to be able to see the text on your prompter, but also make sure it is small enough so you don't have to drift your eyes from one side to the other. I usually have the size at 18 with my Sigma 16 lens, but if I sit further away from the camera, I have size 21 with my 30mm lens. Next up are the margins. That shows how the text looks on the prompter. These are the settings I use. Maybe sometimes I use 98% on the horizontal margin, but otherwise I have found that these settings have enough text on the prompter and in a way that I can be as natural as possible on camera. The opacity is also on full because of my sight. If I'm using the constant scroll option on the prompter instead of the voice sync, I have found that with my settings and my natural talking speed, 19% scroll speed is the best option for me. The reading position doesn't matter if you don't use the text highlight option, which I don't use myself, but by all means try it out if that is something for you. I don't use the overlay either. I found it to be a little bit distracting. The idea is that you can have a pointer where the lens is behind the prompter. Most of the times I use the voice sync options, so the scrolling of the text follows my voice and I control how slow or fast I deliver. You just choose your mic and it should work pretty well. Many times I also use just bullet points in my script. Then I change the scroll speed to 10% because I have found that it's the perfect speed for me to ramble about a topic before changing it to the next bullet point. I use either a 30mm or 16mm lens by Sigma with my Sony ZV-10, and depending on your lens, you might need slightly different settings. But with experimenting with the settings, you can make whatever lens work well. Now to really show you the difference, here's a quick before and after comparison. The first clip is using my old settings where my eye movements were super noticeable. And the second clip is with the new settings I just showed you. Can you see the difference? A few final tips to make your delivery even better. Don't stare at the prompter like a robot. Allow yourself to blink naturally and even glance away once in a while here and there. Also try reading ahead slightly so you can speak more fluidly instead of just following the words. These little things makes a big difference. So if you've been struggling with unnatural eye movement while using the Elgato Prompter or whatever prompter, try these settings and let me know in the comments if they help. And if you found a different trick that works for you, drop it below in the comments so we can all improve together. And if you're thinking about getting an Elgato Prompter, you need to watch this video next where I tell about what's good and what's not so good so you know if it's the right prompter for you. See you there!